that's a wrap on another Premier League season. I feel like taking this off and just going out because I love the Premier League season. And again, another campaign that proves why it is the best league in the world. Yes, we had an outright winner in Chelsea, but we had a lot of trials and tribulations. We had tears, we had joy, we had heartbreak. Everything that makes a league so interesting from the first position right through to the 20th at the bottom of the league. And as to pay homage to the league, I think the best thing to do is to come up with our own winners and losers. And I will say, Bleacher Report, as we know, our trusty analysts over there like to put out their winners and losers early. I'm going to break mine down a little bit further and talk about it piece by piece. So first and foremost, you have to start with the winner of the Premier League in Chelsea in what was a comfortable season for them. And people may disagree and think that they were taken a little bit to the wire because of the points that in terms of the point differential, but they were never really out of their comfort zone. Like, it just really, I felt that from the moment they got onto the top of the table, it was going to take a lot to beat them. And I think that pays respect to how good a manager Jose Mourinho is in the Premier League. Don't get me wrong, the Champions League, we have to keep all this aside at the moment because we're focusing just on the Premier League. Right. So in terms of the Premier League season, Chelsea, of course, are winners. Jose Mourinho's a winner. His new signings are winners. Diego Costa, Fabregas, Matic coming in at defensive midfield are winners. And I think overall.
Big winner on that note, John Terry, the only player on Chelsea who played every single minute of each Premier League game this season. And
at his age, to perform one of arguably his best seasons for Chelsea, it really was remarkable about his season. So we're going to move on. This one might surprise a few people, but for winners, I'm going to say Manchester United because Louie Van Gaal came in and tried to save a sinking ship, basically. It was such a rocky road out there. He had to navigate Manchester United. I'm using a lot of boating terms. I think it's because I was on a boat at the weekend. I was on a boat, yeah. It's very choppy out there. It was my boat shoes. I wish I had them on. I got a little seasick, though, but we'll talk about that later. So he had to steady a ship, as the guys at Men in Blazers said, that David Moyes inherited the keys to a brand new car and drove it headfirst into a wall. So he had to put his pieces back together. And their goal at the start of the season, I said that I thought Manchester United would challenge the league, was to get back into the Champions League. And he's done that. He got them into the Champions League spot. It was a rocky road. It wasn't all laughs and giggles. They didn't just demolish as many teams. There was a lot of ups and downs. But in the end, with a misshaped team with some questionable signings that is partly his fault as well because he signed a lot of big-name players like Falcao and Di Maria and didn't build from the back, he got his job done. And he got Manchester United into a position where they can compete in the most elite tournament once again. Because the Champions League without Manchester United is like a Corona without lime.
Fact, winner, Juan Mata, loser, Falcao.
That's easy. That's an easy one. Good. Safe assumption. Right.
Staying safe.
Winner, again, for me, Leicester City. And especially Pearson, the manager. They looked destined to be relegated at one point, and it was honestly a remarkable turnaround. It was like they were resurrected from the dead. They just managed to string a great amount of wins together, and I think the manager, I think Pearson, it owes a lot to his character. He's got his ups and downs. Trust me, he's had his riots. He's had his moments where he shouts at players. He's had his moments with James McArthur, I think, or McCarthy, I get them mixed up, where he grabbed him in somewhat of a headlock or something like that at the side of the field. He's a little passionate, but he understands what it takes to win in a relegation battle. And you know what it is? It's heart. It is heart. You can win. You can have a talented team. Like QPR had talent in their team, but they didn't have the heart. And the heart is what gets you out of that relegation battle. I want to talk about it passionately. We know what the Geordie says over there. Newcastle were lacking heart throughout the season, and that's why they will be easily one of the biggest losers for me in the season. But one player who pulled them out, who's going to be my last winner to mention at this point, there's many more, trust me. We want to know your guys. But the last winner, Jones Gutierrez, who fell out of favour with...
Colombia?
Yeah, no, Argentinian. Fell out of favour, Gutierrez fell out of favour with Alan Pardew as manager. With a new manager at the helm, he overcomes testicular cancer, comes back, has an assist and a goal to save Newcastle. Written in the stars.
I thought you were going to say, I totally thought you were going to be like, and came back to beat Lance Armstrong in the Tour de France for the 6th year.
And he just... this is why I tweeted, this is why I love this game, because you can have someone who faces more adversity than we would ever face in any of our lives combined. He overcomes a horrible disease, comes back in with being out of the graces of the Newcastle team to just be inspiring. His goal wasn't by any means spectacular. It was driven from heart, picking it up, taking a shot, taking some risks, and that's what Newcastle needed. because they were diabolical towards the end. They were so shite, it was unbelievable. They were losing to teams like QPR. They had no heart. They had a few big names in there who just didn't perform. But you bring a guy back who has lived and breathed the team every minute he's played with them, and he gets them into survival.
Heart, the least quantifiable stat in the history of sports, but is something that if you just watch and observe any sport, doesn't matter what it is, especially football though, you can tell who's there to win and what makes a winner. I said the same thing about Draymond Green on the Golden State Warriors in the NBA. He's not the best player in the NBA, but he plays harder than almost anybody else on the court. Winners, I already mentioned Juan Mata. I felt like he is a great story as part of Man United's great story. Yeah. I don't think Juan Mata becomes the player he is without Louie Van Gaal's formations and strategy and tactics in place. Louie Van Gaal is another winner from this season. I did love his press conference before the season even started. A great signing by Manchester United for him to bring him on as boss. But as he said, you know, I go and coach at Bayern München and we win. And I go and I coach Netherlands and we make a run at the World Cup. And now I'm going to come to Manchester United and we're going to win. And I believe Manchester United can win next season. I'm not rooting for Manchester United. I have a team. I'm saving that for later, before the season starts.
There's going to be an announcement. We're going to do an announcement video.
But I did put my money on Manchester United to win next year before hopefully they make all these signings, so some decent odds on that payout. Yeah,
that'd be interesting. It's going to be an interesting season, and I cannot wait. Even though this season's just finished, I love the Premier League.
I'm
not biased.
Not 2 months until it kicks off,
couple of months, and we've got the Copa America, of course, to fill us in, so we'll have plenty of football. So on to the losers. Yeah, on to the losers. So I just mentioned them there. Newcastle, undoubtedly losers for me. They are known as the biggest team at the bottom of the relegation battle because they have a 52,000 all-seated stadium. They have a huge fan base. They have a loyal fan base who are eager to win because historically they had some great players. They had a chance at winning. But this year, I think that the fans and the team as a whole as well, I think this is something I think that Jordy might disagree on. I think the fans heap too much criticism on Alan Pardew to start with. We saw the job that he did at Crystal Palace when he was able to try and to do what he could do best, which is manage players, manage the team, and manage to help Crystal Palace at a point where they were questionable around safety to have a somewhat successful end to the season. Newcastle is the players more than the managers deserve to be considered the losers, minus Gutierrez in this moment, and some players in there, because they just all didn't play for the shirt this season, and it's considered a poor season for them. Although they avoided relegation at the very end, I think they have to be one of the losers. Liverpool, I'm gonna split between Liverpool, Brendan Rodgers, and Raheem Sterling. Each individually for me losers. Liverpool as a whole, I don't know all the logistics behind the scenes and who is responsible for the signings, but when your manager, your face is there, you're the target. When you sell probably the best striker in the world at that point, Luis Suarez, and you bring in Ricky Lambert, Dejan Lovren, Lallana, all these players from Southampton, happily enough, to try and replace the best player. That's not a good move for me. You need to bring in big name signings. You need to go in with a season they had before. They had the Arsenal. They're like, all right, we just nearly won the Premier League. Come to us. We're going to be back in the Champions League. We're going to have a chance at winning some major trophies. Come to us. Don't go and raid a team that has some good players in the Premier League, because you're not going to be able to put up a sustainable title charge. You're not going to be able to replace Suarez. So Liverpool, Rodgers for me, definitely losers. Raheem Sterling.
Shite.
Considered to be one of the best players in the Premier League, his role is to help them to achieve top 4 at least. He didn't help them do that well enough for me. And he, at a point in their season where they needed a leader, when Steven Gerrard was kind of faltering and we know who's going to be leaving, when they had a mixed match of midfield in there, I prefer Coutinho over Raheem Sterling at this moment, because he showed the heart, he showed the drive. Raheem Sterling came out and was like, I'm not going to sign for you guys next season, at a point where they needed to be performing. Nothing else.
Sterling's goals dropped off, his distribution dropped off, his assists dropped off, yet somehow he's still going to get offered a decent chunk of change to go elsewhere. I guess if his heart's in it, he can repeat his, I think he was 19 years old last year, guy's young. So he's got a lot of promise, but we've also seen young stars bust out later in their career. To me, it's not a good investment. Raheem Sterling's a huge loser, but there is a winner on Liverpool that you are totally forgetting about, and that is Steven Gerrard.
Yeah, well, Steven Gerrard's a winner in terms of
how? I mean, it was his last season with Liverpool.
Yeah, right. So we're giving him a consolation win, right? I love Steven Gerrard. We're giving him a winner I would give him a win for being one of the best Premier League players we've ever seen.
I'd take a 50-year-old Steven Gerrard over a 20-year-old Raheem Sterling.
I wouldn't.
Oh, well, there you go.
No, I wouldn't. That's why you're not the boss of Liverpool, because I think that Sterling will thrive when he goes into another team. If he goes to Man City, I think he'll thrive. If he goes to, I don't think he'll go to Chelsea. I think he might. I don't know where he's going to go. I'm going to look into that. It's another one of the transfer rumours. But I like Sterling as a player. I just think this season he let Liverpool down. He didn't go into the role that people wanted him to take. And he is young. He is naive. He is, I don't know, you could say he's vulnerable at times. And he likes to place a lot of the blame on other people. If he's like, oh, I'm getting played too much, I'm tired, I'm getting played. You're a professional footballer, mate. You need to
grow up.
You're getting paid an enormous amount of money to play. You should be playing. Yeah, exactly.
Neymar's young. He seems to handle himself all right.
No
Granted,
problem.
he's part of a pretty delicate
Granted, he's got Messi and when Suarez feeding him the ball. All right, so the final loser. There's many more, trust me. I just had to narrow it down to make it a clip that wasn't here all night, but I could be all here all night talking about the Premier League.
11:30 in the morning.
11:30 in the morning, okay. Pelligrini and Kompany, kind of, because, right, Pelligrini for his signings. I didn't think he made big enough signings this summer to have Manchester City retain the Premier League. I didn't think that he made the signings that they needed. I think that with Aguero being injured for a certain part of the season, you need to be able to have a team that can make up for that. Diego Costa was out for some amount of time throughout Chelsea, whether it be suspensions and injury, but they still had good enough players to make up for that. Aguero was out. They didn't have anyone to step into that role at times. And I know I said not to mention the Champions League, but it's still, with Manchester City, we're waiting for them to perform in the Champions League. I think Pellegrini will be kept on, even though I said I thought he was going to be sacked. I think they might stand by him because of last season. I don't know if that's the right decision. I think his tactics were wrong throughout the season, especially many times in the big games. And I think with bringing in guys like Mangala for a certain amount of money, it was horrendous. And I think Kompany, for me as well, as a captain of the team, I thought he made a lot of poor decisions defensively. He cost him a lot of vital points for just being immature in his tackles, which is almost crazy because how mature he is as a player. So I think that Kompany has to make my list as one of the losers. Not the biggest loser, but I think that
that's a show on NBC.
Yeah, is that a show?
Yeah.
The biggest loser with Vincent Kompany?
No. Sure. The biggest loser with Vincent Kompany.
Yeah, so I think that for being considered at the start of the season world class, and I argued that, and I wish I could bring up the comment thread of people being like, you're crazy, Vincent Kompany is the man. It's like, no way.
They're not wrong. You are crazy.
I'm crazy, there's no doubt, but he was not one of the best defenders in the world at that point.
Crazy with a K.
Yeah, crazy.
Like Kompany with a K.
Okay. So there's my list. Jason in with the analysis as always. We want to know what you guys think. Who was your winners and losers from the Premier League season? There is numerous different examples that you could reference, but I had to narrow my list down. So let me know in the comment section below. And as always, head over to TYT Sports here. Don't worry, the Premier League season may be over, but we have the Copa America, we've got the Champions League final that is still coming up. So plenty more football here on TYT Sports.
MLB baseball. That's Major League Baseball.
Retirement.